Hello, recappers. Today's movie starts with calm music as David, the main character, begins narrating. He talks about a beautiful girl who always seems alone, even when surrounded by people. That girl is Jade Butterfield, quiet, shy, and always buried in her books. David has secretly admired her all through high school but has never found the courage to talk to her. At graduation, Jade stands by herself while others celebrate. David can't stop watching her. His friend notices and teases him for crushing on her, calling Jade an ice queen. Later, a group of girls asks Jade to take their picture, but she thinks they want her in the photo. When she realizes they only want her to take it for them, she's clearly hurt. Her brother sits beside her and gently tells her she needs to open up again. He reminds her that their late brother Chris was amazing, but she can't stop living because of his death. Meanwhile, David, who is with his dad, gets congratulated for graduating. Just then, his best friend Mace walks up and tells David's dad that his son has a crush, pointing at Jade, who is with her family. David's dad loudly calls out to Jade, telling her to meet his son, now a high school graduate. She doesn't seem to hear him from the distance, but it's a warm scene, as David's dad lifts him up with pride and joy. At their valet job, Mace tells David to get back with his ex, Jenny, and go to her birthday party. David refuses, and asks him to show some respect. Just then, a car stops at the inn. When David opens the door, a girl drops her notebook. It's Jade Butterfield. They recognize each other and smile, but her father calls her away before they can talk. Later, Jade asks David to sign her graduation book. He signs it while looking into her eyes, and she runs off smiling. Inside the restaurant, her strict father orders food for everyone, while her brother insists on choosing his own meal. Jade looks at what David wrote. Maybe we don't have to wait another 4 years to talk. When her parents ask what she wants as a graduation gift, Jade says she wants a party. Her mother loves the idea, but her father hesitates before agreeing. Outside, Jade tells David about the party and invites him. He's surprised but says he'll come, even adding that Mace will too. Then, a rude customer drops his car keys on the floor to mock them. Mace tries to fight him, but David stops him. To get even, the boys borrow the man's car and take Jade for a joyride. When they return, the rude man is furious and demands David be fired. Jade tries to take the blame, but the man insults David, saying he'll have to work harder to get the pretty blonde. Angry, David punches him. Jade's father drags her away as she looks back at David. Later, David's father, a mechanic, asks what happened and supports his son's actions. At home, Jade dresses up beautifully for her party, but only her father's business friends show up. She feels disappointed until David arrives in his dad's old suit. Her brother teases her that her friend is here to make her smile. David prank calls 911 to get the other graduation party shut down. Soon, all the teens arrive at Jade's house, turning it into a real party. Jade is thrilled. Mace shows up with Jenny, David's ex, who tries to talk to him, but he ignores her. Jade's dad is confused, but her mom tells him to let her have fun. Keith starts a dance game where couples choose songs. Jade and David pick a slow, romantic one, and she shows him a few ballet steps as they dance together. While practicing, Jade ends up in David's arms, and they're about to kiss when they're interrupted. The dance competition begins. Mace dances energetically, earning cheers from the crowd, and soon it's Jade and David's turn. Their graceful dance surprises everyone. As the song ends, the lights suddenly go out. David takes Jade into an empty room and tells her he's wanted to kiss her since the 10th grade. Outside, her father makes a toast for Jade and asks her to come up, but to his disappointment, she steps out of her room, followed by a sheepish-looking David. Hugh lets it slide and invites her to the stage for a toast. Afterward, he asks all the kids to leave and walks over to David, offering to show him the door. While leaving, David tells Hugh that he really respects his daughter and only wanted her to have a good time. Back home, Jade tells her dad she's going to her room, but instead, she sneaks out and runs to where David is. Among the parked cars, they share a passionate kiss for the first time. It's a beautiful moment for David, who has been longing for it for years. After kissing him, Jade runs back home, her arms wide open to the wind, feeling the moment with all her heart. The next day, David texts Jade, and they meet at his dad's garage. Later, while Jade and her dad play chess, they hear a noise outside. David has fixed an old family car that once belonged to the Butterfields. At first, Hugh is cold toward him, but Jade's mom and brother Keith invite David to stay for dinner. During dinner, Hugh proudly says Jade is studying pre-med and gives her a family heirloom. a medical tool passed down from her grandfather to her late brother Chris. Since Chris died, it now belongs to Jade. Hugh also mentions Jade's upcoming internship, which surprises David and makes him sad. Keith changes the topic by saying he wants to major in communications, which annoys their father. That night, Hugh questions David about his future. David says he's not going to college yet but wants a simple life, a home, food, and someone he loves. Hugh tells him love isn't everything and mocks him, saying, homeless and in love. Still, they toast to love. Later, Jade's mom tells David his words inspired her to write again. Before David leaves, Jade throws him a paper plane and tells him to wait. When the lights go out, he sneaks in and they kiss by the fireplace. Even though David says he can wait, Jade doesn't want to. They make love by the fire. In the morning, his button falls off, and she keeps it as a gift. The next day, Jade skips watching a surgery with her dad to see David. She tells him she's leaving soon for her internship, but he says they'll make the most of their time. They spend the next few days happily together, biking, going to clubs, and playing in the water with her family, except her father. 2 days before she leaves, David takes her to a concert. Afterward, she runs back to him and asks him to tell her to stay, and he does. She cancels her internship, saying she wants more time with him. Her father is upset and says this isn't like her. The next morning, Hugh decides to take the family to their lake house. Jade begs him to understand, but he ignores her. Meanwhile, David's dad finds a college brochure, and David says he's thinking about applying. At the lake house, David suddenly shows up with his bag. Jade hugs him happily. She had invited him secretly. Hugh says it's a family trip and he wasn't invited, but Jade insists he's her guest. They swim in the lake together while Hugh talks to his wife, who says Jade is finally happy again after 2 years. At lunch, Hugh apologizes to David and says they should start over. He's glad to hear David wants to go to college. That night, while the family plays with fireworks, Keith sends David to the garage for more. There, David sees Hugh kissing a female colleague. Shocked, he quietly walks away. Early the next morning, Hugh wakes David and takes him on his boat. David confronts him about what he saw, but Hugh warns him to stay quiet. Later that day, the teens go to a pool party, but Mace shows up and takes them to the zoo instead, where they plan to get high and mess around. As night falls, they get the carousel running, and David and Keith have a heartfelt conversation until they hear police sirens. David's ex, Jenny, had reported them out of jealousy after seeing Jade and David kiss at the zoo. To protect Jade, David distracts the police, leading them away. He gets caught and taken to the station. Jade rushes home and begs her parents to help David. Hugh shows her a report about David's past, saying it's not his first arrest. Jade says she doesn't care and pleads with him to bail David out. Hugh finally agrees, but only under one condition. Outside the police station, Hugh tells David he's banned from the lake house and must end things with Jade. When David refuses, Hugh mocks his past, bringing up his old assault case and his parents' failed marriage. Furious, David punches Hugh, but instantly regrets it. Hugh leaves. At home, Hugh acts calm, but Jade senses something's wrong. She steals his car keys and drives off. At a diner, David meets Mace to talk things over, but Jenny suddenly shows up. Mace had invited her. Jenny sits close to David and says, "Girls like Jade always move on from guys like you." Just then, Jade walks in, sees them together, and storms out. David runs after her, but when she notices his bloody knuckles, she realizes he hit her dad. She asks why he hid his past, and he admits he was ashamed. David tells her he knows he's not good enough for her and doesn't want to keep proving himself. He walks away, and Jade calls him a coward before driving off, only to crash moments later. Her family rushes to the hospital, and luckily, she's fine. David calls his father, Harry, for help. Soon after, Hugh arrives and asks to speak with him. Hugh hands Harry a restraining order to keep David away from Jade and tells him to keep his low-life son in check. After recovering, Jade visits David's house, but Harry doesn't let them meet, saying he has to focus on his son's future. Sometime later, Jade flies away with her father, while David tries to move on. He goes to parties and even sees a therapist, but both of them are still sad and miss each other deeply. One day, David's dad tells him that if he really loves Jade, he should fight for her. The next day, David meets Jade's mother and begs her to let him see Jade. She finally agrees. When Jade comes home for the holidays, David meets her secretly at the airport. They kiss and admit they still love each other and haven't moved on. At home, Hugh gets angry after seeing his son Keith and his girlfriend in Chris's old room. Keith finally leaves, and Jade is left alone with her father. She tells him she wants to live her own life, but as she walks away, he accidentally knocks over a candle, starting a fire. Moments later, Hugh loses control and threatens David with a baseball bat. Jade begs him to stop. David says Jade wants to be with him, and Hugh finally gives up, crying as he goes back inside. Then he sees smoke and runs upstairs to save his late son's things. David follows to help him. Even as the fire grows stronger, Hugh chooses to save David instead of the belongings. They both escape safely, where Jade waits outside, crying. Hugh apologizes to David for everything he did wrong. David tells him it's not too late to change. A few days later, Hugh drives Jade to the airport. She hugs him tightly before leaving. Outside, David waits for her, and they reunite with a kiss. Later, they go away together, and Jade says she has found the love of her life, someone she will fight for no matter what. And that's how our story ends. What did you think about the ending? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next breakdown.